So thank you for being here in the grand revealing of the Excel 2016 value coming in this next version. My name is Igal Edry. I'm a lead program manager in the Excel team, focused on BI in Excel.
I'm Eli Schwartz. I'm a senior program manager on Eagle's team, working on BI functionality in Excel for the last 2 years.
Great. So let's get started. What we thought we'll do is we'll start with a little bit of an orientation just to make sure we put Excel in the right context. I don't think Excel needs a lot of introduction. Is anyone here not using Excel and is willing to raise his hand? Okay, so everyone uses Excel, so I guess an introduction is almost not necessary, but I'll do a bit of a context setting just so we'll understand how Excel fits into the bigger Microsoft BI strategy. And then we'll talk a little bit about our philosophy or our goals or our mindset as we were planning what to deliver in Excel 2016. And then we'll just jump straight into the different investments that we've made, the different features, and we'll do demos. I think we'll have much more demo time here than me speaking. I'll do the speaking. Eli will actually show you how it looks like. If there is a question during, feel free to raise your hand, but in general, we'll try to keep most of the questions to the end. So if there's something that's sure that you want to ask during, that's fine. So let's get started. The world has changed, right? And we know that data is everywhere. We know that data is coming from a variety of sources, and businesses are looking more and more at using data for making informed business decisions. Excel is the most prevalent data analysis tool out there. Hundreds of million users are using it, data analysts, and for many other different scenarios. And you've probably noticed that in the last several months, we've been releasing Excel and Office in general to run on any platform. So it's no longer just a Windows desktop app. It runs on Windows, it runs on iOS, tablets, it runs on Android, it runs on Mac, it runs on the web. So you have Excel available for you on any platform, wherever you are, to actually use for consuming and processing your data. In 2016, the value that we'll be delivering in Excel is focused on two areas. One is the area of data leakage prevention with an integration with SharePoint. And the other one, where most of the value comes in, is with the business intelligence, business analytics in Excel. In this session, we really focus on what's new for business analytics. So just know that there are other things coming, some data leakage prevention, and also some that are relevant to Office investment across. So things like the new Tell Me that allows you to find commands, etc. We'll not be talking about that here. We will really be focused on what we've done to make Excel a better data analysis tool. Okay? So before we do that, let's put it in context. And the context here is, what's the Microsoft Business Intelligence and Analytics stack or solution across the different products we have? So I want to start by just framing it a little bit. And if you talk about data analytics, it all starts with the data, right? It all starts with, you have a lot of data available for you to analyze and make sense of, try to derive insights from, try to make business decisions based on. And this data is coming from an increasing variety of sources and in a much different pace than it used to be, much larger amounts than it used to be. So you have a lot of data coming in from, obviously, relation database, but also from non-structured data, also for streams, from cloud services, from public sources like Facebook and Twitter, etc. So all of this data is available for you to make sense of. And if you can tap into the power of this data, you can start making strong business decisions that are informed and be more successful in your work, right? So this data is made available, and then the Microsoft stack allows you to handle this data, to process this data in a variety of ways, depending on who you are. So we have the solutions for the IT professionals, for the BI teams that are based on SQL Server analysis services, reporting services, basically tools for professional IT developers who has been doing BI in organizations. We have the other set of tools, which is the business analyst tool. If you are the person who is actually trying to make sense of the data and getting data streams from different sources, you can use Excel for analyzing the data. And there is the new tool of the family called the Power BI Designer, tied to the Power BI service, that also is for the business analysts. Who here has heard of Power BI already? Raise your hand. Yes, OK. So this is a familiar audience. Between these different tools, I'll talk about them in a second. But once you have the analysis, either done by the professional IT pro tools like SQL, et cetera, or by Excel or the designer, you get to put the data, or to put the reports that you generate out of the data into the hands of the consumers. And the massive amount of people in your orgs are consuming reports. They're not analysts. They don't know how to analyze their data themselves, but they need access to the insight that you generate for them through reports that you create. That's where Power BI comes in as the delivery and consumption layer for BI information. And you can consume these as dashboards. You can consume it as reports or as Excel files. You can consume it through web or through mobile devices. You can even consume these through some APIs. But that's basically the delivery mechanism for whatever you've created by analyzing your data. So within this big context, Excel is the tool for data analysis. It's the most flexible and the number one tool we have for doing business analysis. Power BI Designer is the new tool that's more focused on visual exploration, on visual discovery of the data, on creating interactive reports, really coming at it not from looking at the numbers, but looking at the visual elements and trying to make sense of the data in a more visual way. So this is kind of like the context. And now that we understand that, let's talk about specifically what we've done in Excel to make it a better data analysis tool. So that's the rest of this session. If you want to understand more the Microsoft BI strategy or lab, there is a session tomorrow, 9 a.m. You have the link here. We'll have a few of these pointers throughout the session to point you to additional session that we think you may benefit from going to. So tomorrow it's the Microsoft BI overview. We'll dive deep into this whole portfolio and do a lot of demos for Power BI. So you'll see that side of the Microsoft BI stack. So roughly 2 years ago, when we started planning, 2.5, when we started planning the next version of Excel, and we thought, what do we want to do here? What's the next thing that we can deliver for data analysis that will be valuable for you, impactful, based on feedback you've given us on what you'd like to see? We landed on this simple statement that has been guiding us throughout the development of Excel 2016. And that is to make Excel deliver a much more streamlined, fluent experience while you're doing data analysis, and add power where power is due. So it's a combination of adding more functionalities to allow you to tap into the new data sources and allow to do deeper analysis and new functions for BI, combined with a better experience for the analyst when you're doing that. That's kind of like the mindset we had for guiding us for designing Excel 2016. How do we think about that? So we do a research and we analyze. We are data-driven, right? And we analyze how the user use Excel to do data analysis. And we came up with something that we call the user journey, which is if you're an analyst, what's the journey you go through when you try to get from a question, business question you had, all the way to an insight that you want to share with others? What are the steps you go through? And for each of these steps, we've made a conscious decision on what do we want to improve in that step to have this end-to-end flow eventually be much better for you to use. So it starts with getting data, right? It starts with, if I want to start doing some BI, I probably need to connect to data sources. Once I have that, I do some analysis on that. I may model it. I may try to shape the data in a way that will allow me to generate some insights from. When I have that, the next step is usually to share it with someone, so I visualize it first so that I make it consumable by others so that I can actually explain the insight in a good way. Once this is done, I move on to publishing it. So I put it somewhere where my consumers, my report consumers, can actually see the report and make their decisions based on. And then we move actually to a different persona, which is the consumer. The person who is actually looking at the reports also needs to have a fluent experience and have a good way to interact with those reports that we've created and basically use the data that we've generated. So that's kind of like the flow we had. And our investments, you'll see, were basically mapped into each of these buckets and making each of them a better way for Excel to become. The second thing we had in mind was if we look at the Excel as a BI tool in the current versions, there is Excel as the main tool, and there is a set of add-ins that you can put on top of that. So you can put Power Query on top of Excel, and you can make it better to do data acquisition. If you put Power Pivot on top of Excel, you can start doing data modeling and analysis. If you put Power View on Excel as an add-in again, you get the ability to create some dashboards. We basically said to ourselves, hey, there is a lot of value in true integration inside Excel, and being Excel is much better than being an add-in in Excel. So the whole mindset we had was, let's make this whole thing be just Excel. All of these set of tools, let's integrate them together. Let's make a fluent integrated experience between them and make it Excel truly, as opposed to make it run on top of Excel. So with that in mind, let's get started. And let's talk about each of these steps. And for each step, we'll cover what we've done there. And we'll see demos. And hopefully, you'll enjoy what you see. And you'll go back to your offices and start using it. So first step, data acquisition. The problem you have at that step is you want to bring data that's relevant to some question you want to answer. And the way we're going to achieve that is we've integrated Power Query as a technology natively into Excel and made it a native part of Excel. Once we do that, you get the benefit of using the Power Query functionalities. You can find data. You can bring data from multiple sources. You can do data shaping, transformations, bring it into the model or into Excel. But there is also another benefit from the deep integration, which is it's now in there. It's available at the right place. It's very discoverable. It's available for everyone using Excel. You don't have to go and install an add-in. So you can actually rely on that being there for everyone. And it's also start to play in the Excel system of it ties back to the object model. You can automate it. You can do undo, redo, which in add-ins is kind of limited. It just becomes Excel. How many of you have used Power Query before? Wow.
Nice.
Good. So we can do the more advanced demos. Data acquisition, so I'll just go quickly into that. First thing that we see as really high value from Power Query coming into Excel is the ability to find the data easily. Power Query or Power Query inside Excel is integrated into an enterprise catalog. Your users can find the data easily. They can share back queries that they found, and it makes it much more discoverable to find the data. You can bring data from public sites, from enterprise sites. Basically, the data is much more available to consume. We'll see it in a second. Second thing is data shaping. If in Excel 2013, without the add-in, you can bring data into the worksheet. You can do some transformation with Excel formulas, and you can automate it. In 2016, where Power Query is just built in, you have a much better UI for doing transformations. You can edit those sequences of transformations and repeat them afterwards. You can decide to filter the data and bring in only the subsets of data that you really need for the specific question you're going to ask. There is some advanced capabilities, like you can do some M language programming, and basically much more power in terms of bringing data and shaping it. Data sources, again, when we hook to the Power Query engine and make it inside Excel, there is a much bigger set of data sources that we support. If in Excel 2013 you can bring in CSV files, text files, some databases through OLEDB, MS Query, the range of data sources in Excel 2016 is much bigger, and it's based on a modular architecture of connectors that we can actually continue shipping over time. So you'll have access to much more data sources. And with that in mind, I promise that we'll do more demos than talking. So let's switch to the first demo and talk about Power Query.
Let's go. So what you're going to see right now, unless you're on the preview, the Office 2016 preview, you probably have not seen this yet. As Eagle mentioned, we have brought in Power Query into Excel, being a native part of Excel. So instead of being a separate ribbon in Excel, you actually see it as part of the data ribbon. You can see it right here. You have multiple links to functions like showing queries, recent sources, etc. And you have all the sources under setting up a new query. You can get data from file. You can get from various database sources. You can get from various Azure sources. And you can get from other sources, which include web. It includes SharePoint, special connectors like Salesforce, SAP Business Objects, and Dynamics. You can also go to the data catalog and search the data catalog. For example, let's search. Our team is called Office BI, so let's search what it can bring us from Office BI. So almost immediately it brings us data from our catalog, our company's catalog, that we can use for various sources. Now,
think about the case where you had to send someone the connector string for the data sources of your database, and think about this as this puts it in your face, right? If you're an analyst, you want the data, it's just there, you just search for it, and you have the connection to the database available for you.
So let's do a bit of an exercise. Let's assume that I want to sell a product to the higher end market. I want to sell to billionaires, and I want to find it where I can find billionaires. It's not like you can find a lot of billionaires on the streets, or there's no LinkedIn group, as far as I know, for billionaires. So I looked through Gapminder, which is a common public data source, and found a data source that includes billionaires per million people. I'm going to bring that data into Excel by copying a shortcut and selecting bringing data from web. I paste the URL here and pull the data in. As you've seen, it doesn't really matter where I pull the data from. It doesn't have to be a structured file or anything. It's just anywhere on the web that has some kind of a data structure. And I get these results. I get a preview. Part of the query provides me a preview. I can see that part of it is just the document structure, so I'm not interested in that. And part of it is actually the data table. And that's what I'm interested in for. So I want to start shaping that data. And therefore, I open up the query editor and start editing the query. For example, the first two columns here have no data that I'm interested in, so I can just remove them. If you look on the right-hand side, you can see the query steps being recorded. As I move along with the query editing, I can see the steps, and I can retrace my steps and delete steps that I'm not interested in anymore, or repeat them, or check them again, what exactly were the results at a certain step. I also see that I don't want to use the generic column headers, but I have column headers in the data set. So I can go to transform and decide that the first row will serve as headers. Next, I want to change a bit of data. So this is actually a country. Sorry. And I want this data to make sure that this data is structured as numbers, so I make sure that I change the type to decimal numbers. Right now, I already have a certain data set that I can pull into Excel and do some basic analysis on.
Can you get rid of the zeros here?
Yeah, I sure can. So let's just assume that that most countries have data with the last year, so let's remove whatever has zeros in the last year. I can also do a calculation that will check on each, across each column and just remove those that has 4 zeros. But looking at this data, it looks like that just filtering on the last year will cut it. So I load this data back to the workbook. I also add it to the data model in order to allow more advanced analysis in the future.
How many of you know what Power Pivot is? How many actually used it? Okay, cool. So the data model in Excel is the Power Pivot model, right? Just for those who are not familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay, so I've brought in the data set into Excel, and I get a table in Excel, a query table. Now I can do some basic Excel analysis quite immediately on the data. For example, I can insert spark lines and get the trend of the percentage of billionaires in a certain country. So I can see in which...
Don't move to Argentina.
No, it's gone. All downhill. And I can see the trends. This way I can see the trend that if I go back to if I look at this data, I can understand the trend in each country and understand in which country I will see more millions as more billionaires as time goes by. But that doesn't allow me really to focus on the top countries that I want to send my salespeople there. So let's go back into the query and start editing it again. I want to do some deeper analysis, and it's very hard to do it in this structure. So I select this column, and I want to unpivot the other columns. Oh, sorry. That's the beauty of Power Query. I can just remove a step, and I'm back. And this time I select unpivot other columns because I want to keep the country column straight. Now here I can change this attribute to year.
So Excel basically flattened the table for us, and now we can do basically table manipulation on that in a more convenient way, right?
Let's make sure that this is a number as well if we need to make any kind of calculations on it. So this is a whole number because it's a year. And let's load the data back. Now I have a different type of table that it's easier to do analysis. I can insert a pivot table. If you can look carefully here, you will see that we added the ability to create a pivot table directly from the data model without the need to go through Power Pivot.
This goes back to the streamlined experience. One of the things we've done, and you'll see this more in Power Pivot, is we've put the operations in the context where you are. So we are trying to save you the time from flipping between different windows and going to a different place to do the data analysis. Just have the functionality in your face in the cases where it's relevant.
So I want to figure out which top 10 countries I want to send my field people into. Let's change it from sum to average as we're summarizing across the years. And I can do some quick analysis. Just sort according to the value. And I want to bring in the top 10. So, not surprisingly, the country that has most billionaires is Monaco. So we're starting an office there.
Density of billionaires.
Density of billionaires. That's a new term. After that, surprisingly, Iceland. And Israel is not that far back, so I think we're in a good place.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Really? That's it?
You want to do something else?
What's today? What's the day today?
Does anyone know which day is today?
Star Wars Day.
Give this lady a cookie.
Yeah, so you will do a demo of Star Wars.
Let me try and whip something out.
Go for it.
So if I remember correctly, there's this odd thing called Bing. Star Wars. What do we need? We need an API to bring the data from. And we have one. Surprisingly, someone did create this. So this is actually a web tool that you can search all kinds of data in, but instead I'll just pick up the URL and again pull it into Power Query. Same way as before, going to open a query based from web. And let's do a bit of an analysis on the people. Slash people, that's right.
We've learned the API before.
Yeah, we had to.
Yeah.
So Power Query, as we mentioned, is a very powerful tool and brings data in all different structures, from JSONs, from XMLs. And this is the ability actually to bring in unstructured data and all kinds of lists and bring it to Excel and to the grid. So here I expand the list that brought into a table. I can select certain delimiters, but this one will do just fine. And let's use the data original headers. And basically I brought in a piece of information about Star Wars, about the people in the Star Wars worlds. Now, Igor, since you're so much into fitness these days, with all this Fitbit band and everything, let's do something else. Let's check the BMI of Star Wars characters.
Yeah, how are they keeping in shape these days?
So, let's see. First, we need to make it numbers. So let's change type to decimal numbers. And BMI is based on meters, right?
Yeah, BMI, you have to calculate the mass divided by the height square, but the height has to be in meters. So how do you do that?
So let's just divide it by 100.
Okay.
Got it.
So now the BMI. Can you do it in Excel? Let's do
I
it
can.
in Power Query.
Let's do it in Power Query. It's easier,
Okay.
I think. So I can add a custom column. Let's call it, surprisingly, BMI. And let's calculate. So mass, insert, divided by
height square.
Height square. So let's make it simple. Instead of creating a formula that's calculates square, let's just duplicate it height by height. And we have mass, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is connected to the database, right? So if Luke Skywalker decided to go on a diet, we have the BMI calculation immediately.
But it looks like we didn't bring all the characters from Star Wars. So let's do so. Let's bring in the full data set. It's a bit more complicated, so we've revamped it.
To close this window?
Yeah, you're right. So we brought in a bit of an analysis of, jumped from one to another. And here we actually stringed a couple of queries into a single set of queries. One of the reasons is the API that I showed you has pagination, so we had to create a formula that will keep picking up additional calls to the API until it ran out of pages. So this is why it's a bit complicated. So, and if you want to see more of those complicated calculations, we'll have a session, a theater session with Gil Raviv from our team later on this week. But here we can see a lot of interesting data. So let's have a look. So first of all, the character that appears in most films, R2-D2 apparently. And
I think
the
the
Roberts
hint here
rule.
is that C-3PO is not appearing in the 7th episode.
Yeah, probably it's not.
Or there is a bug in the data.
And let's talk about body mass. So
Yoda? Really?
seems that Yoda is, hold on. We need to double check this.
I expected Jabba the Hutt. But I have to say that Yoda being overweight is my insight of the year.
Here we go. So we have Yoda being overweight.
Yeah. I think
That's
that's why
big time.
he used special effect to jump in the third episode of the.
Yeah, and I
Revenge of
can
the
relate
Sith.
R2D2,
He
Jabba
couldn't
the
do it by
Hutt,
himself.
Homer, but
Yeah.
okay. So what you actually see here that we can bring a lot of data from all kinds of sources, string it together, and create quite easily very meaningful analysis on the data sources.
So hey, Eli, can we see something that's related to the deep integration? Because everything we've seen so far is kind of doable with Power Query as an add-in. What's the new things?
So one of the bigger things that we have brought into Excel with Power Query in it is the fact that we can tie in VBA and Power Query queries. So I created here a small table, nothing meaningful, just to showcase the ability, and a query that's based on some parameters that come off this worksheet. So let's just show the query pane, so we'll see what's happening. And I can press on a macro button that I created, and it runs. And it's created something that's called MyFest query. If we open it and look in, we can see that it brought in the table. It used the table as a data source. And we have it as part of the workbook. And we have VBA actually activating M code and Power Query queries as part of Excel.
So who's been doing VBA automation inside Excel here? A few, okay, yeah. What we see is that those few are the extremely powerful ones because they create systems for the entire orgs to use and automate generation of Excel reports. So by enabling this automation of Power Query, we now enable new scenarios, new report generation that are dynamic by nature, basically tie into the real power of Excel where the automation drives businesses.
So if we look into the code itself, VBA code, we can actually see that we brought in a new type of structure within VBA. It's called queries, and it's basically the code that brings in, that showcases and brings in the query that's been activated by the VBA code.
Excellent.
Let's move on.
That's it?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. So, if you want to learn more about Power Query and see the more advanced tricks, we have 2 theater sessions running this week later on Thursday, going from the more end-user case scenario where you just create queries, but we'll talk a little bit more about the advanced cases using some M language scripts, etc., and all the way to automation and how you can actually use VBA to automate Power Query. Both will be running at the theater on Thursday by Gil, our PM for Power Query here. So with that in mind, so we've covered the data acquisition. Now we move to the next step. And the next step is modeling. And modeling is basically the improvements to the Power Pivot experience and additional analysis functionality that we thought you'd love. One thing that's worth saying here is that in this case, especially on the Power Pivot case, in the data modeling case, we focused on improving the experience. So if in the gate data, we believe that you actually need the ability to connect to the new data. With Power Pivot, the most common customer feedback we get is it's extremely powerful, it's just how to use. So we've been trying to make it easier to use, much more streamlined experience. Not a lot about new functionality, but much more about just make it available for you to use in an easier way. One more thing we've heard is that in the existing version of Power Queries, the quality is not where it needs to be, and we've invested a lot in fixing that and making sure that it's part of the experience, right? that the product works well. So it's usability and quality improvements. It's editing in context. You've seen the thing in the insert pivot table where it's in context. You can select to work from the data model pivot table, additional things like that. And we also invested in predictive analytics, in forecasting, which we will see also. So we bucket all of these under analysis. One thing that we've done already is that back in December, we shipped a major update to Power Pivot in Excel 2013. It's already there. It's available. If you're on automatic updates, you probably have received it. But if you haven't, if you go to AKM Excel update, you'll see a blog explaining what went out there. And make sure that you actually have the update, especially if you're using Power Pivot. You really want to get this update installed on your Excel 2013. So what's coming in Power Pivot or in data modeling in Excel 2013? A lot of small improvements that are just like too many to just count here, but we'll name a few. One is around deferred refresh. We've heard from customers a lot that when you work on Power Pivot model and you are doing modeling in Excel, it takes time after every change to actually apply those changes and propagate them. So we've changed the mode we do that, and we defer them to a later stage so it happens all at once. We enabled, in many cases, you have a lot of dimension, in a lot of fields in the field list, ability to search there, ability to change the model, change column names, change table names, things that today are not supported and now are available for you, and bringing things in context, relationship detection. Something that's not yet in the public preview but coming soon is the ability to create measures and create fields from within the pivot table field list. All of these improvements are meant to just put the functionality where it needs to be, much closer to you when you need it. Save you the time from moving around between windows and making it a smoother experience. So let's take a look at that.
Yeah, let's go. So let's just open up an example. This is a table, part of a sales data source, just a single table that
we didn't move to the demo.
Yeah, we should.
My fault.
Okay, so we have a table here that is actually part of a data set about sales that shows specific sales per customer and per year. And what we can do is actually bring this data into the data model in order to allow more advanced analysis and stringing that analysis with multiple tables. So let's go into the Power Pivot ribbon. There's an option here to add to data model. And it opens up the Power Pivot Manage window. And here you can see that it added this table and shows it as a linked table. A linked table, it means that it also that the data source is one and exists in the model, but it also is showcased as a table within Excel on the grid. And additional tables have been brought in before, just not to repeat this effort. And if we look into the diagram view, which actually showcases all the data sources or tables that have been brought in, we see all those tables represented in the data source. Now, we can close it, and let's start doing some kind of an analysis on it. So I want to insert a pivot table, use the data model, and start selecting some information. So let's start with, I'm interested in based on location. And I want to use also the revenue per each. So I'm using, and this is a new feature in the field list. You can search for data in the field list. You don't have to manually go through all the data sets in order to find something. So I found revenue, and I'm bringing it here. But something is awkward about this data, but hold on. Let's just bring also the time factor. We want it according to the calendar year. But something is awkward here. You see that actually the same number is at any place of the analysis. So it's worthless. It didn't bring back the right data. But Excel actually hinted that I can find relationships here, and Excel can help me do that by auto-detecting. So let's do that. It detected 3 new relationships. So let's go into Power Pivot and see those. By the way, like I've showed you before, Power Query is now represented in the Data tab. So is the Manage button of Power Pivot for easier access. So let's use that and look into the diagram view. And you can see that 3 types of relationship has been created in order to support the analysis that I've asked for. The reason that it creates 3 analyses, it's because it's the type of the analysis that I've asked for. If I have neglected to mention year, it would have created just 2 relationships and skipped this one that is the one that brings in the calendar year. And actually, if I look at the data right now, I can see that the data right now looks correct, looks something reasonable as a summary per year and overall, and not the same number, which was the wrong number initially. I can also start changing data here. Let's change place is not really a good name for a column header, so let's call it city. And you can see in the background, right here, that Excel tells me that the data model has changed, but it has not yet propagated the changes. This is the deferred update that Eagle has mentioned before. So I can change the data here. I can go to another table, let's say date, and instead of calendar year, let's call it year. And it's changed it in the data model. And once I will close the data model editing, I would see that actually right now it propagated all the data, and it has updated it in Excel as well, in the analysis. So I can see year, and I can see, instead of place, I can see city.
Excel 2013 didn't know how to do that, so it would treat those changes as a breaking change, and would actually start removing elements from the workbook. So this helps you when you need to change a report without actually breaking the report that you already created. It just propagates the thing more smartly, and again, saving you time in your day-to-day work with Excel.
Your?
Done?
Yep.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Okay. So Power Pivot, really the focus here was around improved usability. The next thing is predictive analytics. One of the things that's happening around us is that with the massive amount of data that exists out there, and you also want to try to use this data to predict the future. And in some cases, we can actually help you. Not all cases, but there are some common algorithms that will use time series information to predict future data based on past data. And we've implemented one of those algorithms called exponential smoothing, which is a leading algorithm in this area, into Excel. And because it's in Excel, the way to implement that is simply add a new formula or a series or set of formulas for forecasting. Let's see how this looks like. There is a blog that explains the technicality behind it, but I think in this case...
Well, you predicted the future. We have a demo ready, so you predicted it.
Yeah,
so let's go.
A picture is worth 1,000 words. Let's see.
So I have a data set here that is classic for forecasting. I have date-based data, and I have the passenger count in San Francisco airport at a certain date.
This is real data we pulled off the web. You could have pulled it with Power Query, but it's actually real passengers' data.
And here I can see that you can see that I've extended the timeline in order to cover the time that I want to predict the passenger flow for. So let's move on it. And under data, you can see a new type of button called forecast sheet. That brings in a sheet that showcases the prediction. You can see that the blue line is the actual data that we have, and the orange line is the prediction. If I go to options, I can see that I can define the confidence level. This is why you see a top and a bottom line around the prediction line. You can see also that the formula successfully identified that there's seasonality here, and the seasonality is monthly based. But if I don't think that the seasonality is correct, I can change that and start setting the seasonality manually. Now, if I start moving the seasonality, you will see that the prediction actually goes haywire, and it's not effective. And if I go back to the 12-month prediction, I can see that the structure is correct.
You can also see that the confidence in the prediction changes, because if you change the seasonality, Excel recognizes that the new prediction is not reliable and tells you, hey, now the confidence level is actually much lower, or the range is higher.
Right, and I can change the confidence level. I can just move it to 50% instead, so you see the lines get closer. And if I move it back, let's say put it to 99, you will see that the lines, the confidence level actually grow. The difference grows, sorry. Let's put it back to 95 and create the sheet. So here I have the sheet. The forecast sheet is made from the chart that we've seen before that shows the prediction, the actual data and the prediction according to time. And it also shows the calculations themselves. So it shows the forecast. And here we can see the formula, and it's based, it has the target date. It has the target date, which is the line, the same line. It has the values. It has the timeline. And it has the seasonality that was found, and whether we want to aggregate or not. And here, here we see the confidence level. So this one is the lower boundary of the confidence level. So you can see the same calculation, just added the confidence level, which is 0.95.
So do I have to use the wizard to do the forecast?
No, you can actually do that with the formulas, and you can create the same thing. The same thing as the button does, as the sheet does, with just graphs and formulas, but this is an easy way to get all the formula data. We can actually even validate how well our prediction is by dragging the number back into the future, back into the past. And now if we go to the data, we can see that we have an orange line. Let me try and focus on that. An orange line that is very close to the actual blue line of the actual traffic, and this was our prediction. We made a bit of a bad calculation there because we used the same data for the calculation, so it's a bit off, but it's as you can see, it's very close to the actual data of traffic.
Good. Thank you. So you've seen that now you have native functionality within Excel that allows you to do forecasting. It's really just regular formulas, regular charts. There is a wizard to help you do it in a more friendly way, but back to the principle of being Excel is better than being somehow in Excel. This is how we are trying to think through things. We're trying to make those functionalities really feel native for an Excel user, feel familiar, just do the things in the way you would expect Excel to do them. So let's move on, and let's talk about visualizations. So remember, in the journey, the next thing after you have the insight, you want to make them available to people in an understandable way, and the way to do that is to usually draw the data, make it visually communicate the message you want. In the data visualization space, we've invested in several areas. First of all, there are actually two visualization technologies within Excel, right? There is PowerView, which is the more interactive visual exploration type of tool for charting, and then there are the native Excel charts that exist in there. We've improved both. So we've added, for PowerView, we've done one thing that we heard from customers a lot, which was we need the ability to connect a PowerView sheet to an all-up cube and not just to the data model within Excel. So that's there now. You can actually do that. But in terms of moving forward, our direction is really as trying to make this thing feel native and feel natural inside Excel. We've invested a lot in improving the charts of Excel, the native charting of Excel. And moving forward, you can continue using Power View as a special sheet within Excel, but our focus is really on improving the charting in Excel. And if you want the type of visual exploration that Power View enables, it's still in Excel, but you should really go and try out the Power BI Designer, because that tool is going through the evolution of improving the visual exploration, visual discovery. Okay? So both are there, and we've improved both, but we'll see how over time we believe that inside Excel, the native charting functionality is the functionality you actually tell us you want more, and when we've listened and followed up on that. We also improved in ability of Excel to understand the time dimension and do some time grouping automatically for you. It kind of sits between analysis and visualization. You usually do it because you want to visualize the data in a better way, but it's kind of like between the lines. And there is Power Map inside Excel. Anyone have seen Power Map before? Some of you? So really cool 3D world map animation powered by Bing that you can use inside Excel to put the data on a map and start doing storytelling within Excel. All of these things are part of Excel 2016. Let's talk a little bit about native charting in Excel. So even in Excel today, in 2013, you have a lot of different diverse ways to visualize your data, right? There is a set of different chart types, stacked graph, bar charts, donut, line charts, pie charts, all of these scatter plots, all of these ways to visualize data so that you can actually use the right charting or the right visual element to visualize your data when you need it. But we thought this is not enough, and we actually invested in adding more. So let's do a quick demo of both the time grouping functionality and the chart types, and then
if we have time, we can show Power Map as well, if you like.
And if we have time, we can show Power Map as well.
Yep.
I think we do.
We can do.
Power Map as well.
So, as Eagle mentioned, time grouping is actually on the boundary of the analysis and the visualizations. It's more affecting the visualization because it makes an easier way to view visualizations that have the time factor in them. So, hold on. Every demo something must happen eventually.
You will work. No? Yeah?
Here we go. Now it will work.
Okay.
So right-click. There's a group functionality. I'm selecting months, quarters, and years because I have data in days already.
So first of all, one thing happened here, which is Excel knew that you're right-clicking on
exactly.
a time line, right, on a row, and offered you this option.
Right. I add those, and a couple of things just happened. One, you can see on the pivot chart that it actually created 3 additional layers. One is the month layer. One is the month layer, the other one is the quarter layer, and the other one, and the third one is the year layer. And you can see the same in the field list. You see that it created the calculation. Basically, what we have done is created a DAX formula that calculated the months, the quarters, and the years for you. So you can see, if we go into the data model, you can see the DAX calculation here that created the year, the quarter, and the month. And this makes it a lot easier, and obviously this is manageable. For example, I can remove the timestamps and months and just get an analysis on quarter level.
Cool.
So
look how easy it was. If you had to do it yourself, you would have to learn DAX, go in, add the right formula, figure out what to do. You probably made it do it wrong in the first time. So if we can do it for you, we'll just do that, right? And that's back to the whole mindset of making things available, easy to use, let you focus your time on doing the data analysis and not on learning advanced functionalities if you don't need them.
So the next thing that we'll show you is just the tip of the iceberg. Most of that presentation will come later this week by Scott Rubble, who is managing the team that works on the visualizations. And I'll just show you a couple of examples. So one of the visualizations that's been asked a lot from us is a visualization that will capture product and product line hierarchy between products and distribution. So here I have some product and brand data regarding cereal. I go into Insert and into Recommended Charts. That's where it is right now. Eventually, it will find its way to
this is absolutely work in progress, so that's not where you should expect to find it. There will be a button in the ribbon for the new chart types, but right now it's still hidden under
all charts and recommended charts.
Yes.
So, and here I can see the list. So let's start with the tree map. And you can see that the tree map captures, and I'll focus on that, captures the various brands, the distribution within the brand, 2 layers. Whoa. And we can see a lot of data here. But the problem with the inherent limitation of the tree map, it captures limited amount of layers. So let's do something else. Let's add another chart that captures a bigger hierarchy, and that's Sunburst. And let's look at that. So we have here the distribution of the brands. We have multiple layers of hierarchy, and we actually can properly visually analyze the data that we've gotten in the table that was extremely hard to analyze directly on the table.
Cool. So what else do we have?
So we can have a look into school grades. And we want to compare 3 different schools. So for that we have Box and Whiskers. And Box and Whiskers actually compares those 3 schools in the 3 dimensions that they have shown, the 3 topics, math, physics, and English. It provides the data, all the statistical information regarding the grades distribution. It shows the 17th percentile, it shows the end data, it shows the 10th percentile, it shows the median, and it shows the average. And
so
this
it's
is
a very powerful way to visualize more data on so that when you look at it, you immediately see the difference between the different schools, which schools have a broader range of scores, these kind of things. So every type of chart has some meaning behind it, or has the use cases where you actually want to use this type, and we've been adding these different chart types to help you visualize the right data in the right way. And as Eli said, there will be a whole session about that, and there is a huge investment here behind the scenes because this is all built on an improved charting engine in Excel that will help us take Excel to the next level in terms of ability to visualize data.
Let's see another one.
Do you want to see another one? Yes.
Okay, so let's see another one. So if any one of you have ever handled a financial file or financial summary, you know how hard it's to represent it visually. So we have a solution here for you. Let's select this time the waterfall chart. So this accumulates the data across, and I need to order it a little bit. So this one is actually a total, and this one is a total as well. This one is a total. And have I missed one? Of course, the last one is a total as well. So I can define the totals in the system. And here I have the waterfall chart of the whole financial summary that I've got, revenue summary, and can visually analyze what I got instead of just going through the table.
how much time would you spend trying to do that in Excel with the current charting? Yes, that's what I thought. Can we do a power map quickly?
Let's go. So power map, let's go back to the example that I started with. And let's bring the data from that's the wrong one. Let's bring the data from the billionaires.
One demo always does.
One demo.
Has to not work.
Just my thick fingers. That's the only thing.
May the force be with you.
That's the wrong good demo for this.
That's the demo where you need the force to act in your behalf.
Yeah.
I thought you saved the...
I thought so
data.
either. So I'll spare you the explanation. This time I'll just clean it up quickly.
You know what? I'll move on to the slides and you prepare
Yeah,
it.
I'll prepare it.
Okay. So, new chart types, new ability to understand time dimension. Power map is coming soon once we get the workbook ready. And if you want to see more about the new chart types in Excel, and actually it's in Office, it's not just Excel, there is a dedicated session for that on Wednesday where Scott Rubel will be explaining this in much better details than we can and with much more accuracy, probably. Okay, so next, let's move on. You've visualized the data. Now you want to publish it because otherwise it's only for you. And in some cases, that's fine. But in most cases, you actually want to make an impact with your reports and make them available to users. And you can publish from Excel to several places. Obviously, you can email the Excel workbook around, and many people do that as the way to publish reports. But you can also put them on SharePoint, and you can put them on SharePoint on premises or on SharePoint Online or Office 365 or on Power BI for Office 365. All of these are ways to get the content delivery, get the report into the hands of your users. And we've improved that as well. We've invested in, first of all, SharePoint on premises. There are several sessions here, but there will be another version of SharePoint on premises. I'm sure you know that by now. And it will support BI workloads running on SharePoint, so that's one. Office 365 works today. We'll see a demo in a moment. And Power BI, I'll leave that to the demo tomorrow in the Microsoft BI overview, where you'll see how you can consume BI dashboards, BI elements on Power BI site. But you can expect to see in Excel, it's not yet in the build right now, but you can expect to see in Excel, from Excel, a publish to Power BI that will make this experience very, very smooth for you. Just take the Excel workbook, upload the model to Power BI, and over time, we intend to keep improving that experience so that you can, from within the tool that you're using for data analysis, share the insights and the relevant visualizations with your consumers. Specifically for SharePoint, there is a hand-on lab that I recommend that you try if you are interested in that, where you can actually create an Excel BI report and put it on a SharePoint. It's in the hand-on lab area in the conference. One more thing we've done in terms of publishing. In many times, you actually want to take that part of the Excel workbook and actually just put it in some web page as an element in that web page. So we refer to that as a blogging scenario. You basically, like bloggers often want to do that. You want to put inside a web page an interactive visualization or interactive Power View sheet and put that as part of a whole blog. There is a way to do that now. It's supported. And if you go to AKMS and Excel Embedding, you'll see the full instructions of how to do that. So another way to get the reports or the insights you have created into the hands of your consumers. And are we ready with the power map thing?
Yeah. We're ready with the power map. So I basically recreated the data that we had for the billionaire demo. And I go into the Insert tab, select Power Map. And actually, I can start seeing the distribution. I want the distribution will be done by country, because that's my data set. And I want the values, I want it to be average and not sum. And now,
This is the billionaires data set?
yeah. So you see Monaco,
This is
Monaco here.
Monaco. Yeah.
So we can even zoom in a little bit. So you see Israel, you see Monaco, you see Switzerland.
We have a long way to go.
Yeah, well, and obviously you can change the representation, so it could be, instead of just a pillar, it could be coloring. So according to the data, you would see the color shift and change. As you see, most of the world are not billionaires.
We'll have to keep working. Okay. Excel Online. So consumption, right? So we've moved from publishing to the experience of your consumers. This is no longer the data analyst. It's actually the person who is getting the report. And obviously, if you get it in Excel desktop, everything is just there, right? You open up the report and you see everything is fine. But one common scenario is that you want to share it with people that do not necessarily have Excel or do not necessarily have the latest version of Excel on their desktops. It may be because they have a different device. It may be because you don't want, as an IT, to distribute the latest version to everyone. It may be because some people are still using older versions of Excel, but you want them to be able to consume the report in full fidelity. Whatever the reason is, Excel Online is actually a consumption platform for us. If we put an Excel on a OneDrive for Business or now even on Dropbox, although some of the BI functionality is not yet supported there, but on OneDrive, you can actually consume the report from the browser, from within the Excel Online experience, and we are improving that as well. So we are listening into customer feedback on what are the main things that your users are trying to do with Excel Online when consuming reports. One of the top asks we've been hearing is, in many cases, they get a dashboard where they want to filter by some of the dimensions, and the list is too long. So we are adding the ability to do a search there. So you type the few letters of the filter, and it just filters for you. Value field settings, people may tend to try to do some lightweight exploration on pivot tables within the report and change some things there, and a lot of other improvements. This is Office 365 Excel Online, so obviously it is a continuous stream of updates that is going into Excel Online, and therefore it just launched. It just get deployed on Excel Online as soon as it's ready, and it will also land on premises when SharePoint vNext ships together with Excel Online Server vNext ships. You'll get those improvements into the product. Do we do a demo of that?
Yeah, sure. But before that, one more thing that's worth mentioning is that Excel Online is based on the hosts that we support, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, Hotmail, and so on. And we're growing that amount of hosts, and we're reaching out to external services as well. Just recently, we launched an integration with Dropbox. And right now, if you open a file on top of Dropbox, you can open it in Excel Online as well.
So how does it look like? Has anyone here never not seen Excel Online yet? Few.
Okay.
Let's just show it
So
and move on.
this is basically our team site. This is SharePoint Online, and those are the demos that I've shown today. I just click on one of those, and it opens up in Excel Online.
And the key here is really same look and feel like Excel, only operating within the browser. So you can send a link. Once you put it on OneDrive for Business, you send a link to your users. They click the link. They see the the report. They don't have to actually download the file and open it up in Excel. They just consume it from within the browser. That's really the point here, and we are working constantly on improving the experience in that environment. I think we should move on. Okay.
So you can do analysis here without a problem. It gives you the field list, which you can manage as well. Basically, it's the same analysis, almost the same analysis that you can do on the desktop client as well.
Okay. So, to summarize, we've been working on Excel 2016 with the goal in mind to improve the experience end-to-end, from getting data to analysis to visualize to publishing to consumption. Make sure that in each of these steps we identify what are the things we hear most from you, what are the top pain points we need to address, and address them. In the Get Data, it's all about the making Power Query a native part of Excel, and as a result, you get those functionalities into Excel for everyone. In analysis, it was about improving the user experience, making it in context, and adding predictive analytics into that. In the visualization space, it's some improvement to Power View, but it's really the support for new chart types and making Excel native charting the way you can visualize your data, and then add on top of that the Power Map for powerful storytelling on geo data. Publishing to multiple sources, SharePoint, SharePoint Online, Power BI, all from within Excel, so you don't have to switch context and go to a different tool. And then consumption experience in Excel Online that is improving all the time, both online and also coming to an on-prem environment. All of these are meant to make the data analysis experience much more smoother, much more complete, and much more powerful with more functionalities coming in. So one more thing we've done, which we didn't talk a lot here about, was to make this whole thing much easier to find, much more discoverable. One of the things we've noticed is that people often do not know about the power inside Excel. When we show this to people, if they know, yes, of course, that's fine. Many people are actually amazed by how many things they can do with Excel that they didn't know they can do. So for us, this is actionable, and the action here was to put it in the right places, in the UX, in our web presence, tell the story, and make sure that people actually are finding it in a much easier way, make things more discoverable, and also make it easier to learn, in some cases because we just do things for you, in other cases because we are investing in creating more content for you to actually learn how to use the functionality, which takes us to our call to action for you. Please join our community. Go and try out the technical preview. We just announced today that there is an updated build of the Office 2016 preview. There is a site where you have the link here that you can start learning more about Excel for business analytics. There is an Excel Facebook page. We actually post there updates, tips, things that are interesting for Excel users. So go and join that. And also join the Microsoft BI online community, focus on the new technologies coming in with Power BI. Learn to use that, and together with Excel, you get a very, very powerful BI experience and BI capabilities from Microsoft. Last but not least, there are more sessions in the conference, so here is a summary of them. We've shown you some during, but we've collected here the list of sessions, when they happen, where they happen. So go and learn about the power of our BI stack. And with that, we will take questions with the time we've left. Thank you. Yes?
Does the Power Query, Power Pivot model support many-to-many relationships now?
No. Power Pivot does not support many-to-many. Any other questions?
Yes.
When we are going to refresh Excel reports consuming Power Query data connections in the web browser? Because right now, if I just make an Excel report using Power Query, I upload it, I'm not able to refresh that report in the SharePoint.
So Power Query refresh, obviously from the desktop you can. Yeah. From the web interface, this is something that is not yet available. but you can do scheduled refresh for reports in Power BI. So in that scenario, Power Query queries will actually refresh. And we are working on scheduled refreshing on-premises for SharePoint, including Power Query as well. So it's coming, but interactive refresh from the browser with Power Query is not supported yet.
One more. Is there any bug between Power Pivot and Surface Pro? Always when I use the Power Pivot on my Surface, the interface is very slow. It's different than another computer. Is there any bug with the driver for the display or something like that?
I don't think so. You can come afterwards and show me, and we can have a look. I don't think so. I don't think there's something specific.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. On the Excel Online, can you run Workbook Open macros?
No, you cannot run macros.
You can't run
on
macros
Excel
on
Online.
the Excel Online?
No.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
From a roadmap perspective, you have R Revolution, you just had that acquisition. Do you know how this product or pieces of the analytic engine, even the programming
one?
R.
The R.
Yeah. Too early to tell, so I can't really share anything here.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, do you have any solutions for creating like a corporate catalog of all the data sources? Because for each one of these, a specific data source has to be created and analyzed and built.
So as part of Power BI for Office 365, there is a corporate enterprise catalog that you can that you get as part of the service, which we've
We
seen
demonstrated
a little bit
actually,
before
yeah.
how you can actually search that catalog so that you can consume it from Excel. So that's our corporate catalog solution for integrated into Excel and part of Power BI for Office 365. Okay?
It's only online, only all 365 Power BI, right?
Yeah, the catalog is online, but the data, there is no data that's uploaded to the catalog, right? So the catalog, only the metadata is there. It points to the data wherever it is, so it could be on your premises. But the catalog is an online service, yes.
Yeah, two questions. First of all, is there any plan to integrate Office Web Apps model with with the BI, Excel BI?
I'm not sure I understand the
The
question.
new HTML, JavaScript add-in model. Is there any plan to integration with the BI capabilities of Excel?
No, but we can follow up on offline, and I would like
Yeah,
to
we-
understand this a bit more. Okay? I'm not sure I understand the exact question, but
We can talk about it just right after the session. I would like to understand what exactly is the ask.
Model exposes the JavaScript API that's built into Excel, as opposed to just VBA. You have to write VBA. You have to
Yeah.
Another question on the SharePoint. Like, is there any specific version of SharePoint required to publish dashboard, like SharePoint 2013, or it can also be done by SharePoint 2010?
it depends on which dashboard you're talking about. For Excel, it runs on SharePoint today, and it will continue running on SharePoint 2016. So for Excel reports, no, there is no specific version that we require. Okay? But there is like dashboards at Microsoft, like you can create dashboards with Power BI. The answer there would be different.
Yeah, there is some capabilities only available for Exchange, the online, the 365.
Yeah, the Power BI capabilities are only available online today.
Right, and there's no plan to make it available for on-prem?
I can't comment on Power BI plans, but there is a session tomorrow about Power BI, and you're welcome to go there and ask the question.
Sorry, are you guys considering putting...
Any of the Power BI functionality going to be available on the Macintosh platform, Excel for Mac?
When you say Power BI functionality, what do you mean?
Well, anything, pivot tables, the whole.
Okay, like, I think it's a very broad question, and there is a set of technologies there, right?
Okay.
We are on a path to keep improving the Excel for Mac and bringing in more functionalities that exist today in Windows to the Mac platform. To the specifics, I'd probably be using a predictive algorithm that is not reliable if I told you what will actually come.
The gap
But
is huge.
The
right
direction, yes, and the direction is definitely to narrow the gap and bring more functionalities into Mac that exist on Windows. Not everything is possible for various reasons, but that's definitely the direction we're heading at.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there any clear way to differentiate the BI functionality that's available in Excel and SharePoint on-prem versus Power BI, or all the online features that they're rolling out?
I think it's a totally different set of functionalities right now. What Power BI are doing right now is a SaaS solution for online. The functionality that you have in Excel is a different set of functionality. It's labeled right now Power as well, but it's a different set of functionalities. And on-prem, you can use the client tools for it, and you have the on-prem specific solution for it. So it all works together. It's a model. It works with data sources, but it's somewhat a bit different, so it's not really comparable at this stage.
We're 6 minutes over, so I'm going to close now, and thank you all, and we'll still be here. So if anyone has
we'll be here
questions,
if you have any additional
questions. Come over and we'll do it not over the mic. Thank you very much.
Sorry?
Please evaluate our sessions for those who are still here.
So,
thank you.